Welcome to the Talking About Dark podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Ian, and this is Grant. We just watched the show recently. Well, Grant just watched the show recently. I watched it a long time ago. We both just rewatched episode 1. We are rewatching the entire series together. Grant had just watched the whole series, talked to me about it because I was really the only person he knew that had watched it at all. It's a confusing and complex show. Some people are turned off by it, but it's more rewarding, I would say, than Game of Thrones for the same amount of work you have to put in to know all the characters, and they don't totally fuck you in the end. So we're gonna be rewatching the show. I was inspired to rewatch it because Grant had watched it. We were talking about it, asking a few questions, made me think, all right, I gotta like get this fresh back in my head again. So here we are. We're talking about episode 1, but I do just want to pass it over to my co-host here, Grant, just to introduce himself.
Yeah, so I'm Grant. Major shout out to my boy Ian for doing this with me because it was kind of a process where I was just watching the show. I had no, like you said, I had nobody else to talk about it with. So I would watch an episode. I would turn right to Ian. Sometimes he would have really, really great input, and other times he'd be like, "I actually don't remember what the fuck you're talking about." So, we probably, we figured it would be best to sync up and do this again. But just saying this right off the bat, it is definitely the type of show that once you watch it, you're either going to want to rewatch it maybe right away or maybe after a couple of years. So I think we're kind of going down the cycle of people that if you're into the show, you're going to rewatch it eventually because there's a lot to digest, there's a lot to go over, and a lot to discover. So I'm definitely happy that, even though I just finished it, I'm going to be diving right back into the world, and I'm happy to be able to do it with Ian.
It's just a cycle that continues and continues. The end becomes the beginning, and the beginning becomes the end. As soon as you get to the end, you're right back where you started. And that's the theme of Dark, and that's how this podcast is going to go. So the show kicks off, and it's obviously about time travel. They have a narrator talking to us, the viewer, and they're like, "Oh, you think time is linear? You think it just goes like from here and just starts going forward?"
Well,
And
it
it
hit us with that Albert Einstein quote right away, which was awesome, which
what was
was
the quote?
the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. Um,
Bam.
and I was like, all right, so being someone that just rewatched it, especially like that quote is like, yep, embrace that because that's a lot. That's going to be what you're going to experience with this show. Perfect quote to start the day.
Right. And that is a genuine Einstein quote. I've heard that before. They didn't just like make that up to throw it in there. But yeah, so they're saying everything is happening, I think, at the same time is what that means, right? If there's no distinction between past, present, future, and it's not a line, it's
Yes,
just
it just
all right now. There's
right.
just now,
Yep,
which
exactly.
makes sense to me.
Yep.
Um, I usually hate shows about time travel because I think they usually just don't get it right, and there's a lot of inconsistencies. We're gonna see if we see any inconsistencies. I thought this one was perfect. Maybe we caught some things at the end. We're gonna have to play that back through.
Yeah. With
They
some
start.
inconsistencies, I think you're going to run into questions that you want to ask and dissect. But, yes, we'll see if there's any inconsistencies.
Right. So the show starts with a big conspiracy board, and I didn't think about that the first time I watched the show, but I realized in the beginning it really gives you, if you've seen the show, so much information about everything that's going to happen, but in these little micro clips, so you have no idea what's going to happen unless you already know. Did you notice that, like on the rewatch?
When the board came up, I kind of laughed at myself from a few weeks ago that had just started the show because I even texting you, I had such a problem with the characters and which one was what and all, and then I'm like, oh, if I just like looked at the board to begin with, like it does show you, there you go, like that's the progression, and I was just like, damn, like.
Right, you're like in the beginning, you're like, oh, they tell you the entire show. The thing you got to figure out, like the whole 3 seasons, they show you in the
Yeah,
first
it's like
30 seconds.
yeah, exactly. I was like, what the hell?
So that's just that's where it starts. That's like the kind of to the audience, and then it gets exciting. It jumps right into a suicide.
Yep.
How do you feel about that?
I thought it was crazy. I thought, the seeing him like seal the envelope again, and then again, like I this is gonna be something I guess I say while we're recapping is like going back to myself from a few weeks ago that started it and having no idea that a man was about to hang himself, and then the repercussions of all that. So seeing that again was freaky, and it added more context this time around because I know. this is the domino that's going to push everything else over. So yeah, I mean, just jumping right into the action. Like no, they didn't waste a second with that one.
Exactly. And if we didn't say it, which I don't think we did, spoilers. Spoilers heavy. We're spoiling the whole thing. Like I feel like we shouldn't have to say it because
Well,
it's
we said
obvious.
rewatching and recapping, so hopefully they know it's through the lens of people
Right.
who've seen this already.
Obviously there's spoilers, but we'll say the word spoilers
Yeah,
for anyone who somehow didn't get that.
yeah. This is maybe not the first time through. Don't don't
Yeah,
go.
get watch this after either after the first episode maybe, but we're going to probably spoil stuff that comes later too cuz we're
Be
watching
a
the
fan of
second
the show and chop it up with us, like
really for second time watchers, really for like an elite kind of crowd,
Yes, yes,
Uh,
definitely.
just keep that in mind unless you don't mind spoilers.
We fucked you up because we didn't say it to begin with. Sorry about that.
Yeah, now we call you up. But yeah, dude, I love starting with a good suicide, It sounds a little bit funny to say that, but it's a movie, right? Like I don't want a suicide in real life, but if you're going to draw me in emotionally, a lot of movies start with somebody like talking to somebody else in a kitchen and I'm like, "All right."
Yep,
They do that a lot.
yep,
That's a common one or in a cafe,
yep.
a lot of things don't start with suicide. If everything did, I'm sure I'd get bored of it. But that ropes me in immediately. I'm like, oh, we're doing suicide. That's kind of taboo. We're kind of people.
Yeah,
You're not
you
really
stop
allowed to
and you
do
sit up in
suicide.
your chair and you go, okay, this is I agree. I was immediately drawn into that part of the show. Like
Yeah.
that pulls you in right away. You want to know more. Yeah, right away you're interested.
And if you don't like suicide, you might, you might
Yeah,
trigger warnings too. Trigger spoilers. You might want to
yes,
back out.
for sure.
But and then so we see a note, and I actually forgot this. Maybe you could remind me and our viewers. He writes the note, but his family doesn't get the note. I think his mom ends up with the note, but they don't show that obviously in the beginning. What happens to that note?
It's his adopted mom, and all I could remember is that she hangs on to that and eventually will pass the note on to Jonas.
So she must find him first
Yes, absolutely.
and then hides the note and honors the request.
Yes,
Do
yeah,
not open it. And then it says don't open it until a certain date.
yeah. And what we get to watch is that date. That date comes about, and coincidentally lines up with what this episode brings us to, which is the first event of the kids going back to the cave, and inevitably, Ulrich's son disappearing. So that's it. All kind of falls in line with he writes the note and commits suicide. That's writes on the note, this is the date you can open it and read it, and that date also so happens to be when this event is going to be taking place again, and the cycle continues.
Now, the first episode is called Secrets. Obviously, the note is a secret. Don't open until a certain date. But I think it's funny. The whole show is filled with secrets. So to title the first episode "Secrets" is appropriate, but it's kind of underwhelming for the amount of secrets. They're all going to be secrets, so you didn't need the title really, but it does fit.
Totally agree. I thought another thing that jumped off the page to me just kind of in the beginning of the show, and I don't know if it's something that caught your eye, but how dark, literally, they paint the scenes in the show and everything like that. But then you see Jonas. Jonas right away dons the yellow, the bright yellow, raincoat, and that's what he's wearing. So I just think the contrast and the colors with what Jonas put on versus what the environment is, the scene, and all the other characters are wearing. I just think it's interesting to now look back and see that very kind of ominous rain jacket that Jonas threw on in the beginning.
Yeah, he gives me kind of like a man in the yellow hat from Curious George kind of vibe,
Mm-hmm.
like cartoonishly standing outside of the environment. And, visually a cinematography that's probably meant to like, make him stand out to you as the viewer. But he also stands out because he's a freak that doesn't belong where he does in time. Because if you're rewatching this with us, you will learn that his girlfriend's brother is his father.
That might be too much too soon for them, but yeah, I mean that's the type of stuff where we're going. So let's kind of see where we were now. So
Wait,
Jonas,
hold on, real quick. This is early in the beginning. I made like a quick little bullet point so we
yeah,
could try to stay chronological.
yeah, cool,
Um,
cool.
bro, did the affair in the beginning? I was just thinking like, bro, his mom is hardcore banging,
Ulrich,
like some other woman's husband.
yep,
Like Hannah is Jonas's mom. She's banging Ulrich, who is Marta's father, and Dude, he's right downstairs. He's like, "Yo, ma, like the power's out. Let me
Yeah,
get some toast or something.
yeah.
Yo, are we doing breakfast?"
Also, like we see, like so his his father dies.
Right,
Like we said, tragic, all that. Cut scene. Jonas wants breakfast from his mom, and
right,
she's already moved. She's already banging somebody else. So yeah, that was also that is a very very crazy scene to watch.
right, dude, banging somebody else, and he's not supposed to know about it, but he's literally right downstairs, like shouting for her, and
Yeah.
they're both naked, like middle of the act, and I'm just like, I just thought that was weird, and I wondered, like, so like, if people have affairs, do they just get like kind of reckless, and this is like the profile for people who have affairs, or is this like German? Is like, do I not know like Germany well enough, and this
Yeah.
is
Right.
kind of just how they roll?
Yeah, yeah, I have no idea. Yeah, I thought that was a very weird scene too. I thought that was a very weird scene. And looking up, looking up in that direction and knowing what's going on up there, so weird.
Yes, little bit of a different culture. Oh yes, so, and then speaking of the German, what language are you watching it in?
Oh, I'm watching in German.
Watching in the German. Why?
I any I once watched a show dubbed over, and when you switch to subs, you realize you do miss certain things. Like certain things aren't translated over. Also, I enjoy the raw stuff. Like this is what the writers gave us. I'm always a proponent of going with just the raw stuff. What they intended, how they shot it, how the actors speak. That's how I like to watch it.
I agree with you entirely, and what I'll add to that is I firmly have the stance that different cultures genuinely have different emotions. I don't know exactly what they are. I just know that when I hear it in German, those people are feeling things that American people for some reason don't feel because we have a different like collective history or something. Like
Or we're
if
numb
you
to it, or we're numb to the way we sound. So it's like
there's some sort of difference.
yeah.
Like how will it go into your tone if you grow up knowing that your whole country has to bear the societal shame of the Holocaust? Like that's got to work its way into your perception of guilt. Like when I feel guilty, I'm Jewish. I don't feel any guilt about the Holocaust. All the guilt should come to me, and I should get the reparations type of deal. Me and Grant, we are good Hashem loving Jews over here, you know. But the whole country of Germany, when they feel guilty, like it's got to be a little bit tied into there. And that may sound like an extreme example, but it's just to illustrate the point that it like cultural and societal events totally color in some way
They're
your.
gonna bring it to you differently. They're gonna bring it to you differently. That's just like that's just how it's gonna be.
And I appreciate that, and it's more raw, it's more authentic. So they have affairs with their kids downstairs. Whatever the German thing is, I could hear it in the tone, and I want to hear the raw tone. I want to hear the raw as well.
I wouldn't recommend it any other way.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, I would say I guess if you're not gonna watch it at all, I guess watch it dubbed. But if you could, do it the right way, do it the right way. All right. So what else comes out of here? Oh, the magic trick. I thought that stuck out to me.
Same. I loved seeing that. I loved seeing. You kind of forget because of the journey he's about to take. With clearly at the end of the episode, he's the kid that goes missing. Put it together. There's going to be a lot more story around that. But like, uh, so from episode one, he's gone. Like he's on a much different journey. We don't get to see much of him. The kid that wasn't taken from his timeline and from his family. So I immediately loved seeing that character because it's like you get one opportunity really with this guy before shit hits the fan and his whole life changes. But I thought it was cool. I thought the magic trick was cool. And of course, we got to discuss him saying it's not a matter of, how I did the trick. It's a matter of when I did the trick.
Right. I think not a matter of where, but when. But yeah, the point is when.
Yeah, when. So it just like it ties in so perfectly with all the themes that were already being thrown at us, and I loved it too. I loved seeing him in his little costume. I loved the whole thing.
Yeah, and I think when you get to the end of the whole series, the line hit me different because the whole time I'm thinking, oh, it's a matter of when. It's a time travel reference. And then there's that part of the show where I don't realize there's like this third timeline that creates the other main two that we end up seeing. And I go, oh, that's a when. That's a when that I forgot. I didn't know that when even existed. And I wasn't asking when. And I thought I even kind of got it, and I didn't.
Yep. I thought that was great. I love seeing him.
So that line is incredibly powerful throughout the show. We see we see an introduction of a few different characters in the beginning. I think most important to focus on when you get started is Jonas, Bartos, and Marta.
Mm. Yep.
A little bit focus on Mikkel as well, who goes missing.
Yep.
Someone on Magnus and Franziska, but they're not the main focus. I don't think of this episode.
Yeah. I even going back and watching it and saying, you think Ulrich, who was the man that was sleeping with Hannah in the beginning, you watch it and you think Ulrich is going to be like this piece, this main piece of the show, and he's another character that as the show unfolds and we recap more, he's very very tragic. Like he's extremely tragic. So going back to the beginning, even though you don't feel bad for him, I mean he's cheating on his wife and sleeping with another woman, and I'm not saying you feel bad for Ulrich, but as we recap, you'll see the
I
event.
do. I feel bad for him eventually.
I'm going back to the beginning. So as of episode 1, I don't feel bad for him, but
Episode 1, no.
we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. He has a wild story. Ulrich has a wild story that I look forward to rewatching with everyone.
All right, so Jonas' father died, right? So Jonas is in therapy. I think he went to like France for the summer, took some time off of school or something. People are like, "Oh, how you're feeling better coming back." Jonas is in therapy with with.
Peter.
Now that's what I'm trying. What's his name again? Do you remember his name?
Yes, Peter. Got it right here. If I'm ever looking away, it's just 'cause I have some notes here.
Yeah, I'm looking. I'm doing the same thing.
Probably set it up better in the future. But he is.
Peter Doppler.
He's with Peter Doppler. Yes.
So that is Francisca's father. So, okay. So we talked about Ulrich a lot. Ulrich is the guy who's cheating on his wife. And
Ulrich is the head of the Nielsen family. You got Jonas, which is Conwald, and then Doppler is another family to bring into kind of the mixture.
right, but Ulrich's son is Magnus.
Yep.
Magnus is kind of dating Francisca. Francisca's father is Peter, and Peter is Jonas's therapist, who he's walking through the woods with in the beginning.
Yep. Exactly.
So that's a lot. I don't even know if it helps, but I'm just trying to connect it for people that are trying to like connect it again or connect it as they're going through.
I think is we should say the names of characters as much as possible because that's you just want to get the names going.
Right. Say their names and then also say like who's their dad is.
Yeah.
And it's about to get even crazier. We're just in one timeline right now, so like let's even just get it straight in the in the timeline that we're currently in.
We'll
Um,
hopefully get better at explaining to you guys as we go because it's a lot.
yeah, it is going to keep kicking up and there's going to be a lot. Um so yeah, so so that's his therapist. He's trying to help him. The therapist's wife is Charlotte Doppler, who is investigating a different kid who goes. So in the beginning of the episode, there's a kid Eric who goes missing.
Correct. Yeah.
He's not really a big part of the show. He's not going to be that big of a part of the show character wise. In terms of character development, he's more of like a kind of a device in terms of like him going missing and like what happens with his body, so to
You
speak.
want to watch him and be aware of his name, but yes, you're not.
Right, but you don't necessarily need to like his parents aren't in the like love triangles or anything like
Yeah.
that. So you could kind of de-attention, a little less attention towards remembering them, their last names, and all that.
Yep.
But
Yeah,
it is that child that goes missing in the beginning, and then Charlotte is helping look for that child. Then also we find out that Ulrich's brother disappeared 33 years ago. So they're comparing this Eric disappearance to Ulrich's brother's disappearance, Mads Nielsen, 33 years ago. Okay. So, and then here's another thing. So just keeping track of the characters, right? So Jonas goes to school. Marta is Ulrich's daughter. He kind of has a crush on her, but Marta is dating Bartos, and Bartos is the son of Alex and Regina. Now we see Regina in the hotel in the first episode, and she has a bunch of debt, like with the bankers who are financing the hotel. That confused me. I think we find out later, but her husband owns the nuclear power plant. Why is she having a financial issue?
I don't recall, and I hopefully will spot it this time. But if you remember, like that's one of the things they want you to point out was that hotel was initially owned, obviously, by that family. But in the future, in later episodes, we'll learn that in time, someone else comes and owns that piece of property. So that is something that they want to point out is that there's financial hardship going on there.
Right, but if he owns a nuclear power plant, like shouldn't he be able to make his payments on his hotel? He owns a whole nuclear power plant.
Yeah, no, totally,
He's like
totally.
the CEO.
Yep, totally. Very, very odd.
So I wasn't. Yeah, I didn't know if you would have the answer having just watched it, but I couldn't. I couldn't resolve that. But yeah, Alex and Regina have a son named Bartos who's dating Marta, and Bartos and Marta and Jonas are all friends, and they're also friends with Magnus. Magnus and Marta are brother and sister, and their parents once again are Ulrich, who we saw the cheating dog, and his mother Catherine, who we see briefly. Catherine now briefly runs into Hannah, the woman Ulrich is cheating on her with. Um, she also finds a sweatshirt, right, with a hair.
Yep,
So
exactly.
she's starting to get suspicious, but not suspicious enough that when she runs into Hannah, it doesn't seem like she quite knows
Oh,
yet in the
yeah,
first episode.
she wasn't suspicious of Hannah at up at all up until this point.
So let's see. So yeah, we talked about almost everything. I think this is about like halfway through the episode, and this is the point where they flash to Helga, who's this old man that keeps saying everything's going to happen again. It's going to happen again. He's kind of there to foreshadow us as the audience. What did you think of Helga?
Yeah, I thought it was weird. I thought it was very weird seeing him because his story obviously is going to unfold and is absolutely insane. Yeah, I mean he's the cool old man that adds a lot more mystery behind what's going on. I obviously think him, towards the end of the episode and in the middle of the episode, repeating it's gonna repeat itself. It's gonna repeat itself again. I think that's something that really pulls you in as an audience. Some shows do that type of thing, and you know it doesn't exactly pull you in when you're watching this show. Like there's such an urgency and such like a creepy vibe behind everything it just pulls you in more and more as an audience. So Helge didn't do much this episode, but I thought his character and the way he was moving was very, very interesting, and someone that just kind of keeps you intrigued into the mystery of what's about to happen.
Right, and it makes you wonder, like, how does he know? What does he mean happen again? Like, is he a time traveler? Has he been through the loop already? Everyone else is treating him like a crazy guy, but you kind of get already the feeling like, I guess they think he's crazy because he knows something everyone doesn't.
Yeah,
But at
yeah,
the same time, you get the feeling, but he is a little like mangy. He is
yeah.
a little crazy.
Yeah,
So
no,
maybe the
they want
CEO
to
made
paint
him
him as
crazy.
a crazy old guy, but you know, as we know, this guy is trying to tell everybody like what's about to happen. He has more knowledge than he is creepy, but they are certainly trying to paint him as the creepy old crazy guy.
Right, because the knowledge he has is so insane that it kind of makes him a little bit insane.
Yep.
Another interesting scene in this one. So we see Eric eventually, right? Eric is missing. We see him. What do you think of like the Eric reveal?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it was interesting to see. He's strapped to this chair, and they're plugging him into this device, and you don't really know what he's being used for. But when you add that with the suspicion of the dead body of the kid we end up seeing at the end, it kind of just it again opens up the door for a lot more questions. Why kids? Why are they turning up on this date? Yeah, I thought it was very interesting seeing Eric, going through the motions he's about to go through.
Right. So, and I just want to call out more on what you said. There's a lot of visually striking elements of the show. So, in that room he's in, as you said, there's this electric chair looking thing in the center of it that we assume it looks like an electric chair. So we kind of assume it's something like that, but we learn it's not exactly that, but that's what it looks like. There's like a steel bolted door, right? So clearly he's a prisoner in this like maximum
Yeah,
security room,
yeah,
but it's a child's bedroom,
yeah,
right? So
yep,
on the walls, it's blue wallpaper. There's a bunk bed. There's like a desk, and maybe like some stuffed animals or
yep,
something. So
yeah,
it's
yeah. What are we doing here?
like who created this? Like a very like dark serial killer, twisted mind kind of vibes. Like he's not just like in a dungeon or a regular basement. It's like a
Yes,
really nice looking children's room with a steel bolted door.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's quite a scene.
It's highly intentional. It's you could already feel there's just so much more going on in every scene than you're aware of, and it'll take a while to figure out.
Yes, 100%.
So that's one of the more visual. Oh, and then there's the TV in the room. I didn't think about this so much at all the first time. I just enjoyed it. They're playing music videos on the TV. You think there's like a purpose? Like, why do they have a TV and they're making them watch all these weird music
Yeah,
videos?
I don't know either.
Right.
I saw that also, and it stuck out like a sore thumb.
It sticks out after you've seen it because, like, the first time you're leaving room for it to be explained. Now
Yeah,
we've seen the whole thing and we're like, oh, that never got explained. What the
yeah,
fuck is
very,
that?
very strange, very strange. And that's a great catch. I caught that too.
But I love the soundtrack. I love the '80s songs and stuff. I love whatever they're doing with the music and the way they time
Such a good
everything.
job with the music. They do such a good job with the music. They put it on at the right times. The music does a very good job of setting the tone and the mood of the entire show.
All right, so let's describe kind of into the ending from the middle, I guess, to the ending here. So the climax of the episode, it really picks up. Bunch of things kind of start happening at once, but the kids want to go and explore the woods and have like a little fun kind of night out or whatever, playing hide and seek or manhunt or whatever they were doing. But they're doing it near Winden Caves, which is like the paranormal epicenter of basically the entire show. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. I when I first watched it, I compared it to like how when we were back in high school, would go to like asylums or like something like a place where we'd want to go to like feel a little freaked out. So you could tell like the caves was like the place where it was like, we're gonna go here and we're gonna have a
Let's
night.
go to Kings Park.
Let's go to Kings Park, stuff like that. So I kind of, we can relate to them that kids like to do that stuff. But that's what you said is exactly right. That cave is the epicenter of the entire show, but it's also the place these kids decide, we're going to go here on this night and see what goes on.
Have a little bit of fun. So while they're doing that, I think there was like a school board meeting where all those people were at.
Yeah, Catherine Nielsen is hosting a school board meeting to discuss the disappearance of Eric. Obviously, the town is very spooked out by it, wants answers. It's more of a place that they're having a conversation around that.
Right. And then while Catherine Nielsen, wife of Ulrich Nielsen, is having the meeting, Hannah sneaks out to go start making out with Ulrich outside of the meeting while his wife's having the meeting inside. Like they are like there's like affairs and there's affairs. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
They are avant garde. They really are like living on the edge. So this is where the action kind of picks up. So Helga bursts into the school board meeting. He said it's happening again. He's freaking out. Blah blah blah. Right.
Yep.
Um,
I just would want to point out like the crew that we're going to focus on, the crew that went to have a night at Winden was, we're going to say, Jonas. It is Bartos. It is Martha. It is Magnus, and then yes, exactly.
Was it one other girl? Was Franziska there? No, right?
Well, no, the other girl that comes is the girl that ends up. Isn't that the girl that ends up she finds the drugs in the chair?
Forget who the other girl is. This is why we do this.
We're the experts that have seen it already, so
this is why it's necessary.
Yep,
highly necessary. Is Elizabeth somehow there? No, right?
No,
she's not. No. Forget it.
I hear you. Sorry, guys.
They'll forgive us.
Let's see. No, Franziska's the one with the dope. So Hannah was the only girl.
Wait.
Was the one that that goes to the yellow armchair and gets the dope.
Wait, I'm dude. I don't know. Some sound just started playing on my computer. I don't know where it came from. I don't know if you heard it. I think I'm back to normal.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah,
okay,
so
say it again.
That was Franziska.
It was Franziska. So Franziska did come with them.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. So she's there too. So that's going to be a pretty core crew for them. And then when Helga, wherever he escaped from, a mental hospital, where was he actually? Was he living with his son?
No, I think he was in a hospital.
He was like in a hospital. So he breaks out of the hospital. Yes. They have poor security. He bursts into the school board meeting. They time him bursting into the meeting going, it's happening again. Everything's freaking out. Then the kids are at the cave. All these lights start flashing on and off at the caves, which, like, I don't know how scary that was. In rewatching it, everyone like, oh my god, the lights are flickering, and they all start running like
Yeah,
there's like a serial killer on the loose. I'm
yeah.
like, why would you run from like an electrical failure? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I think that's Stranger Things conditioning. Like when I first saw it, I remember being like, "Oh, there's lights flickering." I felt like a Demogorgon was gonna come out of the cave,
right,
but in reality, it was just kind of a power surge. It's not.
right. Like they don't know anything weird is happening. Like, what? Why is that so scary? And like, okay, Mikkel was like 9, so like maybe, but the rest of them are like 15, 16. Like, I don't know if I would have ran from like, I don't know, a light flickering. I'm pretty sure I would.
You kind of wanted. Like, weren't you guys asking for this?
Right, like,
Creepy cave acted creepy. Like,
I guess the weather wasn't good. I guess they just got freaked out.
yeah, it was a creepy night.
But it did it. So I didn't feel it the first time, but it did feel like a little bit of plot device. Like I don't know, they could have had a wolf howl. I feel like they could have made it a more compelling reason to have the kids scared and running. But they had to run, they had to scatter because this is the climax of the episode where now you realize they lose Mikkel. But before they lose Mikkel, and I don't remember this also, I wanted to ask you, Jonas gets separated by himself and he runs into somebody. Does
Yeah.
he actually run into somebody?
Well, that's his father.
He sees his father. I was trying to remember, does he run into the future Jonas for the first time, or that's a memory of his dad? He didn't really see
No,
anybody.
that's his dad.
That was a
That's
hallucination.
Michael. That's Michael Conwald.
But that was a hallucination.
Hallucination. Yeah, he's not
Okay,
really.
because we got to point this out. Because like in a show where there's like time traveling characters that show up where they're not supposed to be, you throw a hallucination in there, and then you're wondering like, was that a time traveler that was actually there? There's very few, I think, hallucinations in the show, but this is one of them. So just like be aware, that's not a real character. That is a hallucination.
Already.
He's
That guy's dead.
imagining he saw his dad.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Very freaky. That was very freaky. And to point out, Jonas was kind of cool, calm, and collected in the sense like he was scrambling, but I think he was handling it a little bit better than the other people. When he sees, the dad, that's when Jonas kind of like loses track of himself and is kind of scrambling.
Yeah. So I mean, and that makes sense. He just thought he saw his dad, and that makes more sense to me than the lights. Like lights aren't as scary, but seeing your dead father covered in mud standing in the rain,
Yeah.
that's terrifying.
Yeah, hell of a sight.
So then they get jumbled up. So then he comes out and they're all like, yo, like you were with Mikkel, right? And he's like, nah, I thought he was like with you guys. And they're like, no, he was like definitely with you.
Yep.
And he kind of has this guilty look.
Yep.
But he was hanging out with his dead father for a moment in his mind, hallucinating him.
Yeah.
So they lose Mikkel.
Yep. And then obviously through the fact that they are looking for a kid, now what ends up eventually happening is a body turns up. The next day a body turns up, and it is interesting that in a show where the goal is to find a missing child, the missing child gets found. There's a body, and you would, as the audience, you were to assume, okay, they found the kid that they were looking for.
Right, must be Eric.
It must be Eric.
Or maybe it's Mikkel. Maybe it's even Mikkel.
Sure.
There's 2 missing kids. Maybe it's one of the 2 missing kids.
Right. And then, we see Ulrich and Charlotte turn up at the scene. And Ulrich looks at the body and says, that's not my son.
Right. He just keeps saying, it's not Mikkel. It's not Mikkel.
You're kind of, I was going to mention this as I was watching it too. So cool that the kid was rocking the Jordans on his feet. I'm sorry that the kid's dead, but he was
he was fresh. He was dead and fresh.
The corpse had some fresh Jordans on. He had the 80s Jordans on. I thought that was a cool touch. But yeah, it's very interesting to hear them then to hear Ulrich say that this is not my son. This is not who I'm here for. This is not who I'm looking for.
Right. And he doesn't quite say it at the end of the episode, but what we know is it's not Mikkel, it's not Eric, it's Mads. It's his younger brother who disappeared 33 years ago, and he's now dead, but has only been dead a few days because of the time travel, but shows up 33 years later as if he died yesterday, because he did basically die the day before. But now they're going to have to forensically figure out, like, how is this even possible that this, like, fresh dead body showed up, but it's not 33 years aged?
Yep, we'll get
33 years in the future.
One of the episodes, whether it's the next one or the one after that, Ulrich discovers that, and I always thought it was funny that he asked, like, is it, like, how is my brother so preserved? Like, how is the body intact? And what we come to find out. But I did think that was really interesting. Again, kind of going back to, and then to see Ulrich running down the cave is just like once we are able to watch and discuss what happens with Ulrich, it's like a moment where it's like, bro, like you don't want to run into that cave. Like you got to turn around because
Right.
you know what you're running into
We
is
never should have gone into that cave.
would have gone into that cave. So again, you know, as someone that just finished it, it's kind of just a really interesting rewind and being able to watch it through the lens of understanding where they're coming from, maybe better understanding their emotions, their feelings, and you know, it's just like going back to the beginning of the adventure and being like, you guys have no idea what you're in store for or where this is going to take you.
Yeah, and so that does bring us to the end of the episode. And it does kind of end on that scene where you're looking at the dead body. You know, we know that it's going to be Mads. They're kind of leaving you on that cliffhanger of like, who is this dead body if it's not the two other kids? And that's what leads us into the next episode, so that we are coming to the conclusion of discussing the recap of the episode. But I just wanted to know from you, like, you watched it so much more freshly than I did. Is there anything, because I'm sort of going chronological, but is there maybe anything like outside of the narrative of the first episode that you're tying in from, you know, season 2 or season 3 that you feel like might actually be relevant to comment on here?
Um, I would just say pay attention. You know, they in the beginning you're paying attention to Ulrich, you're paying attention to Jonas. I would say that most shows want you to pick up on like a solitary main character, like oh, this is who I'm gonna invest most of my, you know, most of my opinion and most of my emotions on. This is one of the first shows I've watched where spread and pay attention to every single character, whether they're resonating with you or not. Like obviously you're drawn to other characters, they all play such a vital role into the story that's coming. Just I would say don't be overly invested in any one character and do your best to pay attention to all of them, because the story needs each and every one of them. There isn't any one person that you as a viewer should get invested in more than the other. Certainly, there's characters that are bigger, you know, play bigger roles than other characters. But as far as a first time viewer, if I was going through it, I'd want to know that I don't need to really pay attention to anyone. There's not one hero or one person that deserves more attention than the other. Like I would say, pay attention to everybody equally.
Right. Everyone has a backstory. Everyone has character development, and everyone has a crucial role that if you took them out of the story, the
Yes.
rest of the plot wouldn't function.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
exactly.
maybe except for like Eric's parents, you know. So there are some like or characters that don't get named, right? You don't hear their name ever at all. You could probably safely not pay attention to them, but once you hear somebody's name, you're gonna have to spread your attention equally between them and basically every other character on the show. That's 100% correct.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you said was exactly it. They all play such intricate roles that there's not, you know, there's not like a throwaway character. There's not someone that's like, you know, you're there for screen time or, you know, pay attention to the characters and just get ready to watch where it takes them.
All right, cool. So that pretty much wraps up going over season 1, episode 1 of Dark. If you got questions, you know, feedback, comments, let us know. You know, drop them in the comments, reach out to us. My DMs are usually open. I think they're always open. I haven't really checked. You know, there could be maintenance, there could be construction on the road that leads to them. We might have to take a detour, but just reach out. Let us know what you think of the show. And that's it. You know, we'll see you on season 1, episode 2. Over and out. It's your boy Kowski, and
Grant.
there you go.
Thanks, guys.